Yeah, Midnight Guy. Here we go. Weaver, John C. Roseman, California. It's about 7 after midnight. And it's Thursday, January the 14th, 2021. According to what my eyesight's been telling me on the phone stuff. I had been reminded of certain things that kind of drew me back a bit. And I was going through some Facebook posts. There was a site called Good Old Days. In the good old days, we're talking about the past. There was a listing of songs that put me back into a mood from the year of 1978. Now, keep in mind that my family was going through a lot of changes during that time. My mother had gotten my great aunt out of a nursing home. She almost turned into a damn vegetable over there. And she took my grandmother, and we made room in a particular 4-bedroom at the time in the little town of Arleta in San Fernando Valley. My brother was turning 18 in the process, and he was going into the military. My mother never did like that one. However, put something on here first. Good old days. Just want to get into the group here because they showed a list of songs that pulled on my memories. They pulled on my memories that I was belonging to, and I felt like I was driving myself nuts at this point. I probably am. But the thing of it is, I'm feeling old. I mean, I'm feeling a bit. I'm feeling old. There's no way of going around the thing. I have been through a lot, and understanding what the hell's been going on. I'm still reeling in the years. You know, they got a lot of sites on Facebook concerning about the good old days, you know. As I go through some of the postings, I'm looking at the camera at this point and talking to you. And just checking things out on my account here. Probably seems to be a bit rude because I'm supposed to be focusing on you while I'm going through some stuff. But in the meantime, I'm sharing information at this point. I feel old. And sometimes it hurts like hell. And I'm not quite sure on how to interpret it correctly, especially when I'm looking at certain memories keyed to music. And it's been said, probably has been proven, that music unlocks keys in our brain and in our memories on how we look at things in life. And going through this, I feel like I'm getting older and older, that the more I've listened to the older music, the more the memories sometimes become vibrant and kind of hard to deal with, especially when you feel the bitter pangs of nostalgia. For me, looking at all the information they've got out there and all the listing of songs that they've made regarding the years I've survived in, and I'll bring back to 1976. 76 wasn't exactly a very bad year. We just got settled in. And already I got an accident before we get settled in, and then we have a car accident, and all hell breaks loose. So, David's 17, or 16, 17, I think, somewhere in that area. And he gets into a car accident with me. He was in 58, right? 1958, 68. 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76. Yeah, he was 18. He hadn't even turned 18. He was 17. He gets into an accident. He already had a learner's permit. Just driving. Finally gets his license. Goes crazy at that time. 77, he matures a bit. He gets out of his school. And finally goes into the Navy. 77. But what was more memorable back in 17 was the music. And I'm trying to get through part of it right now. 74, a couple of weeks ago, I was living in North Holland. We're living in the street of family. And we're listening to the music in the backyard. So at home, it's only when we're out and about that we actually listen to oldie stations for that time. And hearing what was going on. 78, here we go. I was trying to pull up the listing of the music in a picture format. Try this. Shadow Dancing, Saturday Night Fever, Light Up My Life, Staying Alive. Yeah, watch those movies. Forget it. How Deep Is Your Love? That was the thing that was sticking on my head at the time. The Bee Gees. And it was Annie Gibbs singing on water, but not much. Oogie, Oogie, Boogie, Oogie, Oogie. I don't know. Not that one. Three Times a Lady, Commodores. I've heard that one. Growing up in the late 70s, early 80s. Especially when there were certain radios that were playing the rock at that time. It was soft rock, concerning about the Commodores. Grease, oh my God. There was, let's see, Van Nuys Theater. And also Sepulveda and Victory, one of those three, before they shut down. We're watching Grease. It wasn't the Pickwick either. Certain old drive-ins that existed during that time. Drive-ins are ones that you go into with your car into a big, huge lot parked. Usually row by row by row by row. You're on these humps. So you can see out through your window what's going on. Before they switched over to what they called Wi-Fi. No, I'm sorry, Cinefy. I'll talk about that one in a second. When they had the drive-in theater, you had these big box speakers that would hook onto your window. hook onto the window. And a volume control at the end. It's the only volume you got. Scratchy as hell. Sometimes you hear it, sometimes you can't. But that was the only thing that they had. Wired to the entire underground. To a centralized area where everything controlled everything. There was a huge building complex, or maybe a small building complex right in the middle of everything. And low enough key in a pit area where people behind can actually watch the theater. Unless, of course, you were in one of those theaters that actually had maybe 4 or 5 screens surrounding the huge building in the center. It was in a pit broadcasting the film. What pissed people off sometimes when they had to get right in front of the damn film, either driving through it or walking through it. That was something concerning about drive-ins. I mean, watching something, you're getting into it, and you see this shadow going through the damn thing. Like, what the hell are you doing? It's almost bad enough when you're doing the walk-in theater, and that happens. Projection, there's somebody else going right in front of the damn thing and piss people off left and right. Be a lot of noise after that. But yeah, you had to deal with the big boxy metal bulky monsters. And the sci-fi, they call it, the cine-fi, is they would use a radio channel. They would use a radio channel. And they would broadcast it into your car stereo. Now, you would have to have a special hookup to it. They'd clip it onto your antenna outside. Or if you had one of those newfangled cars, they had the antenna going through the windshield. Just hook it right into the glass. And it would be picked up by that. I don't know if Buicks are like that. Buick Regals. We had one. We didn't have the up and down or the solidified. But we had the cine-fi, and we were able to listen to it. Now, the drawback concerning about cine-fi, neighbors, you gotta love them. The cine-fi going through your radio depended upon how much power you had left in your battery and how much gas. You had to keep the car powered up in order to hear it. Every time you keep using a radio without having the car running, you're draining battery power. You always had to keep charging it up by running the engine. There have been a few times there have been tow trucks coming through the drive-thru, trying to give power or jump starts left and right. Or maybe somebody else could do it with jumper cables. That was something. That was a blast. And then there was... I just forgot to... That's what happens when you get into old stuff. Back in 78, when I'm listening to all these music, I'm thinking about... Hang on a second. I got to check the neighbors again. Much apologies. 78... Maybe one of the greatest years for other people, and it was just another year for me, growing up as a kid. Seeing my brother getting older and more crazier and more mature as he's in the military. Sometimes a little more hardcore, but sometimes a real smart ass sometimes. I remember getting a soundtrack from Star Wars. Besides the music of John Williams, they had the story albums of Star Wars, and you'd be able to listen to them. This keys me in because the music I'm listening to on my brother's stereo is the music I'm reading off the list here. Because when my brother and I were actually out and about, when he was on his shopping errands for my mother when it comes back for the military, even for shore leave. Well, listen to music like this. Grease. Now, let me get back on this one, okay? Let me get back in some of this. You're the one I want. Of course, you got, oh, wrong one. No. It's going crazy on me again. Why am I not surprised? So, Grease is the word. I think we're watching this at the Van Nuys Theater. And Grease had been playing and playing and playing. It had been seemed to be the number one pain in the ass music to listen to. Grease wasn't the word. Grease was the drawback days of late 50s, early 60s of what was going on, and here we are in the 70s talking about and singing about the music of that time. It drove me nuts because I'm seeing all the stuff my mother went through and my brother had survived through. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. This is the kind of stuff that you went through in the first place? He goes, yep. Motion, Lay Down Sally, Eric Clapton. That was a good one right there, too. Just the Way You Are, Billy Joel, I remember. Paul McCartney, Wings with a Little Luck. If I Can't Have You. Back in '78, you had the movement of the disco dancing kicking in during that time. In the early to mid '70s, if I have memories driving me crazy at this point over here, we had disco during the time. Of course, you had Saturday Night Live playing, and you had the Bee Gees bringing forward disco to the age. Disco didn't last very long. Several years, that's about it. But not very much, though. And what really brought out the disco was the Saturday Night Live album. John Travolta on there with his white outfit, the bell-bottom pants, white jacket, and whatever kind of colored shirt he was wearing. But doing one of those, yeah. I'm looking at this, I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. What is this? My brother's telling me, this is disco, man. This is disco. This is what we've been dancing in the clubs to, man. This is what I've been doing in the USO clubs all the time. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. It was not until I started seeing some of the stuff happening in the late TV shows and in early 80s, all the way up to 82, that is disco dead yet? Because now you got the new age music coming out of the experimentals, and it was 80s was more of my time. 80s was more of my music. Different, experimental, freaky. I was able to ball with it. I mean, I didn't mind listening to all the classical music from other movies and stuff. Listening to the music of the 50s and 60s bored the shit out of me, even though I got grown up with the thing. You listen to KHJ, and you listen to that damn crap. You listen to K-Earth and other oldie but moldies. I say that because back then, to me, they were oldie but moldies. Speaking of which, let's see. Feels so good. I don't know that one. Hot Child in the City. Nick Gilder played that one. Love is Like Oxygen. That I loved. From Sweet, killer. We Will Rock You from Queen. Queen was coming out in the mid to late 70s as heavy rock. Back in 1980, they had a movie called Flash Gordon. The music actually made the movie, basically. You remember the rock band Queen because they did most of the music in it. they sang the title song for Flash. Stuck in my head all this time. You can see and hear some of these musics still out there on YouTube these days. And if you can actually get an oldie but moldy, these things would be oldie but moldy. Let's see. Baker Street. I don't know that one. Can't smile without you. Barry Manilow. Oh, good Lord. When you want to hear about romantic songs, Barry Manilow was one of those guys. He had that kind of voice during that time where he just sang, and women would like, ah, and the guys were like, oh my God, no. I'd seen the look on those guys' face. Can't smile without you. We're groaning like, no, what are you talking about? I'm already having enough heartache as it is. I just lost my baby. And now you're singing about this. You're singing about me. How dare you? Oh, Dance With Me is another disco mania. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Oh, Meatloaf. I heard about Meatloaf being a weirdo during that time. I heard about the stories, and it just blew right over my head. There was one time that Meatloaf actually bit into a bat's head, and that story is still out there. I think he actually did, but I'm thinking about it, and it kind of grossed me out a little bit. Like, what the hell are you doing, biting a bat's head off? And quite frankly, I didn't want to know about the bat's head. But that's what Meatloaf did. He bit off a bat's head. It just kind of freaked me out a little bit here. January is my month because I'm going to be turning the roadside double nickel at this point over here. So certain pieces of music are actually mattering to me at this point. January 9th of 1978, according to Good Old Times site. They also had, let's see, How Deep Is Your Love from Bee Gees. Yeah, if you wanted to go for the romance, slow dancing type, the clubs, that would be one of them right there. Let's see, Slip Sided Away, Paul Simon. Paul Simon split off a while ago during that time from Art Garfunkel. Apparently they had a falling out happened, and they went their separate ways. Art didn't really make it into the music much. Hadn't heard any activity from Art until maybe once in a great while there was like a reunion song happening. The last time I heard it was like about 20, 25, 30 years ago at New York, Central Park. They did a special on PBS on that one. And they sang their old songs that people grew up with. The album of Bridge Over Troubled Water they played. Albums are also available on YouTube at this point. This is not advertising, it just is information only. But listening to music like that just kind of made me remind me of a few things happening during those times. Gas Crunch days, Jimmy Carter days. He wins the election. 77, he's out there all the way through 80 till he gets one-term wonder because of Ronald Reagan. No, it was 76 or 80, and then we had the Iran hostage situation happening, and that's what really screwed over Jimmy Carter. Ronald Reagan comes in with a guns blazing attitude, and he gets to be locked stick for 2 terms of that one. But also the attitude of the gung-ho attitude of the 80s was coming into play. The 70s, the slip sliding away, just slips and slid away. Come Sail Away from Styx back in 1976. They screwed up in the concert called Mr. Roboto back in the 80s. Late 70s, early 80s during that time. Really killed their career. But I liked the music of Styx during that time. I listened to it. And then, of course, Queen was still Freddie Mercury singing with the group. And as I said before, did the sci-fi film of Flash Gordon. Not Flesh Gordon, Flash Gordon. There's a difference on that damn thing. I've heard about Flesh Gordon. That was an insult to injury right there if I ever knew it and heard it. 70s I remembered a little bit more better than I did about the 60s. I mean, I was born in 66. I'm not going to give you a damn date specifically when I was born. Saying, yes, I was born on this specific date over here. Now you've got my complete history here. Ha! Yeah, right. No, but as I'm looking at some of the earlier dates on this thing, it just kind of makes me feel a little bit more older, mature, and ancient history. Because I would remember the things happening during that time. And some of the pieces of music actually did mean a damn thing to me. 1970. Try this one. 4 years old, you get into a car, and you get into not an accident, but heart surgery, just to correct your leaky plumbing. That year is synonymous with what I have to deal with. Try these for the number one hits during that time. I get it pulled up over here. The reason why I'm talking about this is because memories like this are hitting me hard. They're hitting me hard as hell. And it's very difficult for me to deal with stuff like this. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head by B.J. Thomas. Now, there was a movie. Sundance Kid. Bill, God, what the hell was that again? Redford and Newman. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. The song of Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head from B.J. Thomas was playing in that one, talking about romance. And I remember that song, but also remember the time going over to Cedars of Lebanon, trying to get the old plumbing fixed over there. It was really rotten during that time. Everybody's a star, not really. Slide in This Family Stone, my brother loved. Bridge Over Troubled Water was I was trying to talk about back in 1970 when the album came out, that one. Let It Be for the Beatles, ABC from Jackson 5, American Woman. The Guess Who screwed that one up and turned that damn thing into a hit. They were just going to be doing a theme, and then somebody had to say, turn it into a song real fast before they got on the stage, and they ad-libbed real fast. Because the only thing they had was and then it's American Woman, stay away from me. Oh God. The Long Winding Road when the Beatles were just about over with. It's about 1970s, just about calling it quits during that time. Three Dog Night was out there. Ray Stevens, Everything's Beautiful. Ray Stevens did these called albums, called songs like you would not believe. One of them was called The Streak. They had a video on that one made in the 80s on this one. And it was hilarious as hell to watch him on. All this stuff, you can see this on YouTube regarding it. Karen Carpenter, Close to You. God, what a beautiful woman. But she suffered through anorexia like crazy. She was going through anorexia nervosa at this point over here and could not keep the food down. A beautiful lady, she killed herself that way. Had a hell of a voice, hell of a talent. War, Edwin Starr. Now, during this time, keep this in mind, 1970 was also a traumatic year as well. We were going through the Vietnam conflict during that time. We were coming to the nearly end of it, middle to the end of it. War was a way of saying to people, this was like an anti-war song, basically, to say, we had enough of the crap. Let's get on with peace at this point. I mean, you're sending all the dregs over here, but you're not sending all the you're not sending your sons, and also other songwriters out there made their own thing regarding that I, that I remembered. Ain't no mountain high enough. Diana Ross, hell of a voice on her. Cracklin' Rose, Neil Diamond. This guy was out there for a while in the '70s, late '60s through the '70s, making his hits left and right, and it kind of faded off a little bit. These days, I think he's not in the public eye anymore. His music from back then is, but he stopped touring years ago. I never heard a song out there in the concert series, but I wish to God I had. Jackson 5 still getting their name out there. I'll be there. Young Michael Jackson. There was a story my brother told me about him. He went to high school. Actually, he went to elementary school. And Michael Jackson was going, at least for a semester or a year, and my brother was with him. And he was very shy, very protected. And my brother was very supportive of him, trying to be his protector, trying to keep everybody else off the guy. He was a very shy kid. My brother cried when Michael Jackson died. In fact, the day that that was going on, we lost another one as well. And it's shame on me that I can't remember the poor woman's name because she was also out there, made a hit for herself, and faded into history because Michael Jackson was bigger than her. And she already made her mark a long time ago. But in talking about stuff like this brings out the memories and history that I came across left and right of what was happening during those days. Surely in your time, there had been pieces of music that made a mark somehow. And for me, listening to this always made the mark. Always made the mark. There was no other time I could have made a mark, but this was the mark. I thought I needed to share that and get that off my chest at this point over here because things like this matter to me the most. They did. And talking about it, it just kind of helped me out with memories and feelings and everything else going on. I know I kind of sound a little maudlin, a little bit out of it, but when you get a little older and you hear certain things, you just kind of get into a mode, into a zone where you're like, I remember when, and it flashes. And you can't describe more of the feeling that you're in because you're in a remembrance zone where everything back then comes back to you. Your whatever age or mental state that was, either good, bad, indifferent, or whatever it was, and you're just there. You're not here in the present. I mean, physically here, but your mind is back there in that time period. You can see around your environment. You can hear and taste things. You can experience it. Because your brain is bringing up all those experiences through memories of the senses. You can feel if you've been into any violent car accidents during that time or traumatic events that really hurt you or something. Or maybe something that brought something very pleasant to you. Pieces of music to me do that on some occasions, especially when I'm dealing with back in the 60s and 70s and the 80s. Because I remember going back in those times, listening to a certain piece of music. It'd take me maybe one or two pieces of music, a certain tone in there, a certain rhythm or something. And automatically, I'm seeing where I am at that point, listening to this music, usually on the radio, either watching it on a video or in a car or somewhere else, and I would see who I was with during that time, either with friends or with my brother. That one makes it hurt because when I start to envision and see myself with my brother more and more during those times, I know I've got remorse and I've also got grief real bad on that one. However, I also have good memories. Some of those songs actually do bring out some good memories, especially when I keep looking at some of those things. I talked about Flash Gordon, about Queen. I'd never seen it on a big screen, always on a small screen. And I heard the soundtrack one time at my cousin's house, my relative's house out in Bell. My youngest cousin during that time was Terry Lee. She had bought the album of Flash, and she's playing this thing. And I wish I had the copy of of it. I wish I had it on tape because I'd listened to the music. I'd watched the movie. I'm like, wow, that was cool. I'm a young kid. What the hell did I know about what cool was? All I know is I'm hearing this thing. And really getting into rock and roll during that time. Rock and roll is very impressionable to a young kid, especially me. I mean, I grew up listening to different forms of music. If I was with my brother and I was out and about, I was listening to rock and roll. If I was watching a movie, I'm listening to the theme. I'm listening to the soundtrack. Now, keep this in mind. There are certain themes I'd listen to, and some of them stuck in my head like crazy. Try Dirty Harry when you're a young kid. Yeah, Dirty Harry. Playing at an independent theater at that time. Somewhere out in North Hollywood, my brother and I are watching this film. I don't even know why the hell I'm watching it, except I'm seeing Andrew Robinson. God, gotta love this guy. Character actor from back then. Hell of an actor and hell of a writer and director and everything else. Star Trek actor, but he's been in too many films. He'd been in the film of Dirty Harry when it came out. My brother and I are seeing the revival of the thing. I'm a young kid and he's a teenager, and we're watching this damn thing. And we're seeing Andrew Robinson going through a lot of things. He plays a character of a killer named Scorpio. He's just killing for fun, driving poor Dirty Harry crazy. Clint Eastwood during that time. Now, everybody knows about Clint Eastwood. I mean, hell, if you get older than I am, hell, you heard about Clint Eastwood and his damn spaghetti westerns, and not to mention his television appearances that he had during that time. So, yeah. And not to mention, later on in life, Mayor of City of Carmel. So Dirty Harry's been out there for a hell of a long while, but you see the original Dirty Harry, and you're seeing Andrew Robinson. Again, you can see parts of him on YouTube or get the film itself and watch the classic. I watched it as an adult, like shit. I'm enjoying myself watching this damn thing as an adult. But as a young kid, it sticks with you. The music, but also the violence of the damn thing. And I'm getting programmed for violence at this point because I'm seeing Dirty Harry and Andrew Robinson trying to kill people left and right, making people bloody as hell. And seeing Andrew Robinson bloody in a damn place, I'm like, oh. That stuck with me during that time. Jumping back a few years, and you're seeing the film of Close Encounters of the Third Kind back in the mid to late 77s, I think, somewhere in that time. My mother didn't. My mother took me to see this film. My brother was already in the military, and I expressed an interest in watching Close Encounters because I'd seen it too many times in a commercial. I could bug my mother about this one, so we went over to the Americana Theater out in Panorama City, California. Parthenia in Van Nuys. It was close to a diner across the street from shopping areas, major mall they had out there, the Panorama Mall, Panorama City Mall. In that area, they also had Woolworth. They also had Bob's Big Boy in the area as well. Right by the theater, old rundown independent theater. You gotta love this place. But it was run by Pacific. It was supposed to be, chartered out to Pacific Theaters, run those kind of movies out of them. And so the bowling alley is in the area for that one. Ma and I actually went over to the Bob's Big Boy in the area. Got ourselves some lunch. I met a scientist over from NASA. He worked at one of the plants out here in Southland. He noticed Ma had gotten me a space shuttle toy. I looked over at the toy, over the toy area. I didn't realize what the hell thing. I thought it was a futuristic space plane or something like that. I didn't realize I was catching this scientist's interest. He was an engineer. Turned out the guy worked for the space shuttle program over at Paulville. He'd gotten me a subscription for about a couple of years worth of NASA tech briefs. 10 or 11-year-old trying to read technical information about the space shuttle and about other things. Oh my God, I thought I was in heaven. But then again, I couldn't understand the damn thing they're talking about. But Ma noticed I had a conversation with this guy. She kind of chided me a bit. Scolded me, actually, by not talking to strangers. But we were talking about the space shuttle because he was enthused about the space shuttle because he was working on a program. It was one of those things you would never talk about to the public at this point until they actually released the information necessary for that. So I guess it was about 78, 79, I think. And the movie of Space Close Encounters came out. I was going to be seeing this thing. So here it comes. The space shuttle toy I'm bringing with me over to the movie theater. I'm going to be seeing Richard Dreyfuss meeting aliens. I didn't realize what the hell was going on. It was just like a cool movie, and I liked the music and the damn thing. John Williams got my interest during that time. 1975, he did the film Jaws, the theme for that one. I didn't see Jaws until about the late 80s to really appreciate his work when I was seeing it on cable, and I was mature enough to watch the damn thing. But I heard the music, and it stuck in my head. So the dun 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 dun. That stuck in my head. So anything John Williams was doing, there was always a signature in it. I've noticed that every time there was a composer, they always had a signature in it. An instrument would be their signature, would be their calling card. Certain key aspects of the theme, a certain element, a certain chord, something, an instrument, would be the key element for that particular composer. Superman, still under Williams. Da 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 da. Horns. And the da 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 da. More horns. Jaws. Da da. But this time it would be the strings for that. So naturally, certain elements stick in you during that time. But this is the power of music, okay? Power of music I was growing up with for a long while. In the 80s come out, you listen to different music left and right, and you see the different television shows left and right with maybe about a minute or less theme. These days, you don't even have the morning theme. You just have, hello, here comes the show. Then the afternoon theme, what's that? The ending title credits, what's that? Everything's just a rush job. No mystery to it, nothing. just no signature music for these things. I mean, this is what I hate these days concerning about television shows. Regardless of where the hell they're being put on or produced, there's no identifier for it. That's why guys like me are stuck. That's why people like me are stuck in the music that we're growing up with, because we knew they identified the age, the time. We knew everything what was going on by the music because that music was that powerful. These days it's like the music I keep hearing is rap, 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 rap. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. I don't understand rap. It's not R&B anymore. You used to call it rhythm and blues. Rap is not rhythm and blues. It's just bad poetry, but they're talking about whatever they're talking about. Sex, drugs, not rock and roll. This, but violence left and right. Issues with law enforcement, or issues with something else, and always the expletives left and right. You've heard it. You've said it. I've said it. I'm not saying it on here. That's what I keep listening to. The older people I hear are listening to the music I grew up with, and older than that. Not the teeny bopping of the 1950s where you got the American Bandstand crap going on. I mean, Dick Clark was fantastic as the host at this point over here, but the music back in the 50s drove me nuts. 60s coming out, you got the Vietnam War going on, you got the anti-protesting, pro-military, anti-military. Let's get the hell out of this place. 70s is like trying to figure out where the hell you are. 80s was just experimental of everything else. 90s, more of the same, except the rap was coming out there trying to make things more presentable and telling people what was going on around them. 2000 onward, forget it. There's no music. I mean, it's just hodgepodge out there, and I'm still trying to figure the music out these days. I suppose the next 10 or 20 more years, when I get back on the radio again, or actually when I start listening to the radio, maybe I'll hear something familiar, and if not, I'll just stay off the radio for a while. I'll listen to my own music. But this is my own ranting and raving for tonight, boys and girls, so if you don't mind, this old fart's going to try to get some sleep at this point over here. I'll post this damn thing later. I've had enough hour long of taking your time and my time, so night.